like. No rules or regulations for you. The rest of us, not so much. We're still under COVID restrictions. Have you had enough? 03444991000. What do you think of the hypocrisy of all these VIPs telling us what to do when they're not doing it themselves? 03444991000. Or you can text us, right, talk in your message to 87222, or you can tweet us at Talk Radio. And don't forget, watch me right now on Talk Radio TV on YouTube and Twitter. Now, before we get to your calls, let's listen to the greatest parliamentarian of our times.
But difference of opinion is of the essence of politics. There is an elaborate combination of finger wagging and head shaking going on, which may be personally therapeutic, that is institutionally disadvantageous. In any case, we owe the honourable member for Taunton Dean a decent hearing. Rebecca Powell!
Preposterous, pompous, ludicrous. John Bercow, when he was Speaker of the House, in full pompous flow there. Now, he was, of course, a Tory, and now he's sensationally defected to the Labour Party, which is the last thing Keir Starmer needs, given the problems he's already got. What's going on? Why has he done it? Let's talk to social commentator, author Helen Dale. Hello, Helen.
Hello, Kevin. How are you?
Very, very well. I'm not defecting to the Labour Party anytime soon. Do you think old Bercow is just trying to get a peerage here, isn't he?
Well, this was the first thing that occurred to me, I have to say, when I read the news somewhere that he'd decided to join the Labour Party. But do remember, Labour put him up for a peerage in 2019, as it is entitled to do. And Boris Johnson put a line through it. And I'm not sure that that is going to change. People forget that peerages are in the gift of the government. And all the while there's a Tory government, then John Bercow's chances of getting into the Lords are slim to none, I would suggest. I honestly think he's about as popular as cancer amongst a lot of Conservatives. He's even less popular than COVID.
Yeah, that's
because now
right.
we've all been vaccinated. You know, cancer makes you sicker than COVID, so he really is about as popular as cancer.
Now, old Bercow, though, he never does anything quietly, as we just heard. So he's done it in tandem with an explosive interview in yesterday's Observer. He said he regards the Tory party as reactionary, populist, nationalistic, and sometimes even xenophobic. He goes on to say, self-righteously, I am motivated by support for equality, social justice and internationalism. That is the Labour brand. So it's full of virtue signalling. But
this is a man, in management speak terms, who has been on a journey. Yeah. I don't know how many of your listeners are familiar with how John Bercow started out in life.
Very right-wing, wasn't he? Extremely right-wing.
It went beyond right-wing. He punched through right-wing and came out the other side and then kissed Nick Griffin on the lips because he used to be a member of the Monday Club. And the Monday Club's biggest claim to fame before it kind of disappeared up its own fundament was wanting to repatriate all the Commonwealth immigrants, which of course was exactly the same policy as the BNP. It's just the Monday Club was for posher people, whereas the BNP was meant to be for basically the football hooligans. Well, that was the rationale until the BNP decided that it had to go mainstream and picked Nick Griffin, who'd been to Cambridge, as its leader. But that was unusual, that the BNP before Nick Griffin had been just bruisers, basically. So John Bercow was the posh end of the racists, while Nick Griffin was the hooligan end of the racists, for want of a better word. So it's quite an extraordinary journey. And just on that point, the whole management speak point, I saw Henry Hill in Conservative Home, or it might have been CapX, but he writes for Conservative Home, just saying this chap is the David Brent of British politics.
Yeah, that's about it. I mean,
he's just so cringy.
He is cringy, but do you think, I mean, Keir Starmer has obviously embraced the idea of making a big thing of this. This big thing in the Observer would have been all worked out by Labour HQ. Let's make it a banner headline embarrass the Tories. But I think that someone like Bercow joining your party, you need that like a hole in the head.
Well,
that's not good for Labour, is it?
Poor Keir Starmer needs this like a hole in the head, and you've taken the words right out of my mouth, because that's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, this is really quite unfortunate. And I mean, I'm happy to admit I'm a Tory, I'm a member of the Conservative Party, that kind of thing. But I know, if you're honest with yourself about your own political tradition and your own parliament and what it's doing and what it's not doing and where it's succeeding and where it's failing and all of those kind of things, I mean, I actually feel quite sorry for Keir Starmer. I mean, I feel sorry for Keir Starmer in the sense that, you know, he's just got no traction. He's got this awful problem of his party's been taken over by, you know, wokies. Yeah. I can't really call them anything else. You can't call it.
Well, we could, but not on a family radio show, Helen.
Well, no. I mean, even although it is after the watershed, isn't it?
No. Don't go down that route. You'll get me in trouble.
But it's. I mean, his party's been taken over by these awful wokies who are just incapable of speaking to anybody who isn't like them without abusing them. And I honestly don't know how you fix that. And this is actually quite difficult for all the political parties in Britain at the moment. I mean, you saw in the Chesham and Amersham by-election where the Lib Dems took a safe blue seat off the Tories. And it was the classic. I mean, I'm a Shire Tory, so I know how this works. It's the classic. We'll vote for the Prosecco party in a by-election because we can be reassured it's not going to do anything to the government. It gives the double-digit salute to HM Gov, which happens to be Boris Johnson and co at the moment. But you saw in that quite a lot of it was just to do with, well, no, we don't want to be putting our hands in our pockets to level up the north. We don't want HS2. We don't want all these planning liberalisation that means more people might be able to live.
And we want our freedom back, also, Helen. And I think I think it was
Chesham and Amersham.
I think what government ministers are now conceding, it was a major factor.
It may have been a factor. Okay, I don't live in that. I don't live in that constituency, but I do know I heard all the whinges about HS2, and I saw the leaflets, you know, because they were being photographed and shared in our. Well,
HS2 is another project that the government is railroading over us, not listening to anything we say. Just as when we all said, can we have our freedom back? Boris Johnson didn't listen to us. We don't want this choo-choo train system for 120 billion quid. He doesn't listen.
Oh, is that what it is now? It'll be 140 next week.
Yeah. It just keeps going up. It's ludicrously expensive. No one wants it. But Boris Johnson doesn't listen. So, the only good news I think he got last week was John Bercow joined the Labour Party.
Yes, it's just ridiculous. But you need to be honest when your own party's got problems. And this whole, no, we don't want to share, we're quite high income, we don't want to be taxed up to the hilt for another part of the country that's poorer. Now, in the old days, Labour could make running out of that and paint both posh Tories and posh Proseccos to have a go at the Lib Dems as well. And so you don't care about poor people. But Labour has so lost its way with representing the less well-off people in this country, there's really no other way of describing it, that you've got this situation where it can get no traction. And it finishes up making a large song and dance about a person joining the Labour Party who is absolutely the model of entitlement, because that's the other thing. I mean, these kind of stories all get around if you have anything to do with the great and the good. You know, John Bercow, for all that he gave up some of the robes of office, like particularly the wig, the Speaker's wig, he was the kind of chap who would walk through the corridors in the Commons and expect all the other MPs to hop out of his way, which you're supposed to do. It's a sort of grace and favour that goes with the Speaker. He also liked the grace and favour House. I mean, these are all the accoutrement of privilege.
And he's
never had a difficult day in his life.
I know, and he was an absolutely preposterous speaker. I don't care what.
He was awful.
He was an absolutely just. It made it all about him. If you look at Sir Lindsay Hoyle now, that's how to do it. He does it quietly,
and also,
but with authority. You know.
Another point too is that Sir Lindsay Hoyle is Labour, or was Labour. I mean, Speaker has to be neutral, but was a lifelong Labour man. And this is a knock to a degree on conservatism and the fact that, and some of the people that it attracted when it used to be the nasty party. the Monday Clubbers, basically. So Lindsay Hoyle shows you how to do the job properly.
He
and
does.
He's a lifelong Labour man.
He does it properly, and I don't think John Bercow did it properly at all. He made it all about him, and he was terribly biased.
Well, did you see, can you remember this during Brexit? I mean, you played a little bit of him speaking, but the chap from Scritti Politti, the band, put John Bercow's ridiculous way he shouted order over the top of a music beat.
Yeah, it did.
It was just extraordinary. And you just...
It pretty much sums up his tenure, just a bit sort of show busy and showy and ridiculous. But Helen, I'm out of time, but thank you so much for your time. Great talking. Helen Dale, political commentator there, all about John Bercow. He's joined Labour. Ooh, big day. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan and this is Talk Radio.